This topic of black fatigue, it'll be comical, illuminating, and entertaining. We'll learn a little bit about human nature. One thing I figured out is that everyone likes to complain. Some genders more than other genders. I'm not gonna point any fingers, but every people like to complain, and sometimes the complaints or the excuses come in the form of racism. It's the blame game, blaming others. Often you find human beings are idlers, and in having no meaning and no purpose in life, they attach to anything. I'll illuminate that. Let's go ahead and get started with a basic explanation of what is Black fatigue. This is a term that actually originated in the Black community, that is the Black American community, and then it was actually hijacked by racists and white supremacists to mean something else. And there are many lapdogs, persons like Officer Tatum, bedwenches like Candace Owens, and they started picking up these terms because their core audience, which are whites who call themselves conservative, they may not properly be conservative. They may have LGBTQ friends. They like to drink alcohol and engage in all forms of filth, but they still regard themselves as God fearing Christians. And so you have the black bootlickers, the house N words, the Officer Tatum's, the Candace Owens. And do you guys notice a trend? Do you notice that these persons always are married to white people? Now, mind you, a lot of my audience, not a lot of my audience, but a subsection of my audience, black women, they often say, "Oh, you seem like you like white women." I I like all women, white, black, Asian, Latina, Arab, all of them, as long as they are obedient, honest, clean, good cooks. You're right. I love them. I love women. However, I find it to be very funny that when black women make that accusation of a black man, these are usually the filthy, unruly ones, the high testosterone black women. And they're basically suggesting that, hey, we realize that we're unruly, high testosterone masculine females. You must like white women. And for them, white women, this is a synonym for submissive women. This is a synonym for well behaved women. Well, I wish that were true. Unfortunately, the greatest poison to the earth is the liberal white woman. The liberal white woman spreads feminist ideology, which has infected the whole planet Earth. And it not only hurts the women that they implant these disease like ideas in, but also males. You have a lot of male feminists, and this is problematic. But, anyways, getting back to the previous point, you have the Candace Owens and the Officer Tatum, both individuals who hate themselves and are trying to negate the self. They're both married to whites. I find this to be a piece of data we should consider. Now, it's important to know that, and people will inevitably ask me this, Mark, what are you against interracial dating? Are you against miscegenation? Absolutely not. I have no problem with it at all. If you find someone who is a good match for you and you both are self-respecting persons, then enjoy love, enjoy this match that can lead to family. However, I'm very much so against those who would engage in self-denial and those who seek to procreate with those outside of their race specifically because that person is black or white or what have you. So yes, that I am against. I am against self-hatred, in other words. We have a three-sentence Bible, a three-sentence Torah, a three-sentence Quran, if you like, which is to say, be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. Be yourself. If you're black, be black. If you're white, be white. If you're Asian, be Asian. Be good to yourself. Treat yourself well. Good health. Don't poison yourself with intoxicants. Get enough sleep. Eat healthy foods. And then be good to good people. Don't be around those who are wicked, those who have low characteristics, those who are dishonest. The moment you find out that they are like that, boom, get away from them. Okay, so now that we've clarified that, let's go ahead and dig into this concept of black fatigue, which is the favorite of the racist. And you'll find that historically, you always have those persons who inhabit the house inward position, which is to say, even during the times of enslavement, you had those persons who were the ones who would betray their own kind so that they could kiss up to the massa. And Officer Tatum and Candace Owens are, or I should say, Officer Fakeum, he's a fake black guy, Officer Fatham and Candace Owens are such types of people. As we go on, if you have any comments, questions, please use the information below to send in your tithes, tuitions, comments, questions. And I thank those of you who do support the work. Shout out to Jay. May I also acknowledge Ra Master. You are very much so appreciated. Now let's go ahead and get to this word. Here we go. Now, I've seen this black guy before. He kind of seems like he should be narrating scary movies, this particular guy. He looks like he's alive but dead at the same time. But shout out to the brother. He's well dressed, articulate, and seems to be very objective. He runs a good show. Let's work.
Now, to black fatigue, it has recently been turned into a feeling that some white and black people have who say they are damn tired of foolishness of some black people, the claims of racism from sunup to sundown, loud talking, fighting, and the list goes on. Not my list.
I want to address some of these things. So, number one, uh, I've shared many times that I've tried to be racist. I've made a pious effort toward it. It's actually quite difficult because racism is foolishness and silliness. Because one, we saw that the white supremacists they tried their best over the centuries to create scientific racism, and make assertions about the IQ of the blacks. And initially, it was based on size of the brain, and then they found out that the Bushmen had the largest brain, so then they had to scrap that theory and create a new theory. And this is when you learn that humankind is very emotionally driven, and often we don't use our intelligence to reason and come to conclusions, but rather our emotions drive us to a particular feeling or outcome, and then we use our intelligence to justify our feelings. You understand what I'm saying? Our intelligence is used in the aftermath to justify our irrational conclusion, our feelings. And this is really the heart, the root and stem of racism. And as I remind you all, the reason I've not been able to successfully be racist, despite much effort and also conditioning, I grew up in the hells of North America. I haven't been able to stick with racism because I've traveled widely. And in my travels, I've gone among the Asians who today are the model minority and are viewed as disciplined, highly intelligent people. And I've seen some of the most brainless people I've ever encountered in my entire life. Um, we know Indians are very diligent, great software engineers. The gentlemen, I've even hired a number of them. I founded a company with one. And but if you go to India, you can find both the bright minds and then also people who live extraordinarily backward. They, squat and defecate in the woods, and they believe in mysticism and all variety of silliness, and don't have any hygiene standards. It runs the full range. If you'd like to find poor, backward whites, you can go to rural parts of Albania or Georgia. What I'm saying to you is that all of the varieties of man have their highs and lows, if you will. And if you're being honest and you're a rational man, then you'll observe it very clearly that we're all a bit goofy. When I say we are all a bit goofy, I'm saying all of the varieties of man. We're basically the same, seeking the same things. And it is in our emotionalism that we become provincial, tribal, and hateful. There have been many great leaders, religions, and ideologies that have tried to take us out of that. None have done it too successfully. And you'll even hear people often say, "Well, Islam is the answer." The Prophet Muhammad, he said there is no black above white, there is no Arab above non-Arab, there is no this above that. We are all equal. Yeah, yeah, I hear you, but he may have said that, but what do the Muslims do? You see, one Muslim won't marry another Muslim because they're from a different culture, a different race. So in practice, this is the reality. I don't really care what your book says or what so and so said. We need to understand what the reality is. And so our great effort and the effort of all of the peoples of the book should be to ensure that the words of the prophet, peace be upon him, or the words of Jesus, or the teachings of your God are enforced. We have one person who writes the audio is low. If anyone else has any comments on the quality or nature of the audio, now would be a wise time to make comment on that. I'll see if I can go ahead and turn that up a little bit for you. Let me know if that's better. And again, of course, thank you to those who actually support the work. As you guys know, I'm shadow banned for speaking out on political topics. You can see that they've cut my live viewers by a third. Shout out to Iram writes, watching till it's time for Fajr, pray you're well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And uh, much respect to all of those who are serious about their deen and they actually do make salah on a regular basis because the audio isn't as crisp as it normally is. Okay, fair enough. I'll listen back to this and see how this one is because I'm using these headphones, trying something new. The east wing of my home is being mopped right now by the maid, and so I don't want to walk through and mess up her work. That's where my video studio is. I am Sire, supporting the work. Appreciate you. Shots are the real ones. Not the best audio. Okay, let me try one thing to fix this for you guys before we get into it. So I'm gonna switch the audio real quick and let me know if it's better.
Now, keep that in mind. But some people are tired of the complaints and don't give a damn. Here's what one TikTok user had to say about it.
One thing I want to point out to you guys before we get too deep into this, there's this fiction that black folks are always complaining about racism, and it's not black folks.
Seems like headphones for sure, yes. Let's see. Okay, if you all would confirm if the microphone audio is now improved, I'll be thankful. Okay, there it is. Okay, yes, I need you all to be more precise with your language. I'm not a mind reader, so if it is better, that would be a complete sentence. This audio is superior. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So we'll carry on with this. But as I was saying, okay, very good to know. I'll note that for the future. As I was saying, there is a mythology that blacks are always complaining about racism. It's not blacks. It's actually not a widespread thing. Do black folks complain about racism? Absolutely. Why? Because they're human. And in some cases, there is racism going on. I mean, let us not forget that the black people were enslaved in this land for a significant amount of time solely on the basis of race. And following that, there was legal discrimination, de jure discrimination. So yes, racism, of course, is still here. However, there are those who use racism as an excuse, and usually they use it to excuse their laziness, their foolishness, or the big gap between where they are and where they think they deserve to be. And those are the ones that disgust me most. And this most commonly comes from the black lower class, those who may be low income and also low IQ. And we always expect low IQ, low income people to say and do foolish things. So that's not surprising. So what I'm telling you is that you have the black lower class, they're going to complain about racism. But here's a funny thing, you may not have noticed this. Have you not noticed whites complaining about racism? They're complaining about being replaced. This is a racial concern. Many of them are racialists, if you will. And so they're concerned about being replaced and becoming a minority. These are racial complaints, right? Also, if you really take a look at it, you'll find that the same complaints are true of the Jews. They call it anti-Semitism. And so what I'm pointing out to you is that you're finding that across all of the races, you have claims of victimhood. You have claims that racism is being forced or they're being victim of racism. And I'll tell you, the only claim that's a bit comical and concerning is the white majority in America. Not because they don't have a legitimate claim, but because in complaining, you reveal the weakness, you see. So it's only showing that they've fallen really badly. And it's an unfortunate thing to see, because if you are, in fact, the majority and you're in a society that was built for you, by you, in a fairly literal sense, I guess not literal, the blacks did the labor, but to claim that you're a victim of racism in a society where it's a majority rule system and you are the majority, this is bizarre. And this is, in fact, psychotic. It's fairly baseless. So I would say that just signals the white people in America are at war with each other, and they don't have proper understanding or language for that. Because if you're in a white country and you're experiencing policies that are disadvantageous to white people, that is merely because white people did it, because you're in a republic. with regards to the Semites, the so-called Semites, the white Jews, these persons claim anti-Semitism. They're doing this strategically. I don't think they even believe it. I think they're doing it to silence people who disagree with them. They're doing it to gain position. They're doing it to shame folks. They're doing it strategically. So they're doing it for largely different reasons than, say, the blacks. And the blacks are crying out, in some cases, from actually being victim, but in other cases, just because they're hopeless. And they happen to be within a culture wherein there is significant wealth and they don't have it. And in the absence of acknowledging that I don't have significant wealth because I'm an underperformer, because I lack education, because I lack know-how, because I'm victim of a backward culture, they cry out and suggest that, well, I must be down bad because you didn't give me a chance. You white man, you government, the man, all of this, the system, all of this stuff. And they make up all of these strange things. And this is why education is so critically important, because you'll hear blacks say things like, oh, it's the Illuminati, or it's the Boule, or it's the, tell me one more of these conspiracy terms. It's the New World Order. It's the fill in the blank. It's the Matrix. Fill in the blank with something. And in reality, what they're describing is a force above all of us that's affecting all of us. It's the elite keeping their clubs small and keeping you out, but they're not keeping you out because you're black. They're keeping you out because you're dumb and incompetent. And there are many like you who are white, Asian, Latino, and otherwise. So it's crying out. There are those who are sincerely racist and sincerely hateful. You know, one of the things that I find curious about the blacks is the way they use language sometimes, because they'll say things like, and I remember this growing up, and I was always thinking like, you know what, that's not correct. That's not correct. You'd hear blacks say things like, you know, like, why are they treating me like this because I'm black, when they're describing legitimate racism, right? And I would think they're not treating you like that because you are black. They're treating you like that because they are racist, or they are hateful, or they feel inferior, or they feel threatened. It's not a you issue, it's a them issue. But the blacks, so weak and a people largely of low self-esteem, and they're not the only ones of low self-esteem. You find a lot of Asians, a lot of Latinos, a lot of cultures having strong inferiority complex, Indians. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying that you often find that these cultures are filled with white supremacists. So we're really going to get into it. And if you all would grant me some understanding, I think that you'll find the talk to be very edifying. But if you're sensitive, you'll listen to me and you'll say, oh, this guy's anti-black, or he's anti-white, he's anti-Arab, he's anti-Asian, he's anti-Latino. No, I'm anti-lies, I'm anti-ignorance, I'm anti-foolishness, I'm pro-truth, I'm pro-reality, I'm pro being proactive, which is to say doing something. So I thank those of you who support and those of you who are really with me as we go through. Shout out to the Seleucian Trucking channel, right? Supporting anyway. Peace to the saints. I appreciate you. And thank you to those who do support, because I will need your support. They've shadow banned me on 2 channels, and they've shut down 2 of my financial accounts. I should say the government. Let's just be real, right? It's probably the government. And when I say the government, this is inclusive of big tech, media, and the banking system. Those are all government entities, whether you realize it or not. Now, let's talk about this black bimbo right here. This is the tragedy of our era, is that we've given women suffrage. They've taken it and done great harm to the global population. And we also are allowing weak males to cause us all to suffer. Weak males are controlled by their libido. They're obsessive with women. They pursue intercourse, almost never get it, but it enslaves them to the female. So for example, this bimbo right here, and this is a bimbo. Really, we should probably stone her. The only reason that anyone's listening to her is because she has her chest out, right? She has her chest falling out. She's an animal. And furthermore, she has robbed her hair of its natural life by hot combing it or pressing it or putting chemicals on it, which are cancer causing. And she's done that to lay her hair down such that it would resemble the dominant culture, which in our case is the white culture. She is a self-hating, low IQ, black female bedwench, which is to say she's Candace Owens, but she's not as clever as Candace Owens. And so here she is sitting, saying the things that she believes her superiors will like, right? It's like the person who sucks up to the boss, not to get a job promotion, but literally just sucks up because they want to get patted on the head. And you can listen to her tonation, her word choice, and the general concepts coming out of her mouth. And you can tell that her great goal is not to be a speaker of truth, but rather to disassociate herself with the black masses. And I don't blame her. The black masses are really down bad. But here's the difference between her and I. I should be disassociated in as much as most of my metrics don't line up. This is some dumb, broke black broad who speaks bad English, lacks education, and is in poverty. So like, you are very similar to the people you're disparaging. Me, I love black people. Like, I am very much so a black man. That'll never change. I despise those who are lazy, those who are self-hating. And in fact, if it was up to me, I'd take out 10% of the black population. And that doesn't mean that it's 10% that are misbehaving, but I know that once we take out that 10%, the rest are going to fall in line, right? We have, let us say, 10% that are behaving. They're making us proud. This is black excellence. Then we have a 10% that's the lumpen class. These are the criminals. These are the bad apples. Then we have another 20% that's following the 10% because the 10% has a microphone. You call these animals Sexy Red. You call these animals Nicki Minaj, Meg the Stallion. And this is the kind of sickness in our community. Number one, education is important. How do you not know a stallion is a male horse? What kind of female are you who wants to be called by the name of a male animal? Yes, disgusting. But anyways, once we get them in line, you eliminate literally that 10%. The other 20% that was following them will be like, oh, well, I see what happened to them. I'm going to get in line. And then things will move into the right direction. But let me tell you guys this before we carry on. The reason I say assassin or nothing, and I do mean or nothing, I'm assassin or nothing. The reason that I say that, and I mean every bit of it, is because something must dominate. If you look at the evolution of many human societies, they do well because one ideology, one religion, one leadership force has taken the helm and made everyone follow. And then you can always move faster and stronger together. You cannot have diversity. Diversity is problematic. And I'm not talking about racial diversity, coloration diversity. I'm talking about diversity in ideas and values, you see. So, for example, the Muslims, they say you do not associate partners with God. There shall be no competition. There's one God, one true God. And you look at all the major monotheistic religions, they're all trying to proselytize or give dawah. They want to dominate, as they should. It's completely reasonable. And you look at the United States, they don't have multiple languages. It was started by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. They're called WASP. They made their culture dominate. So much so that you have like dumb blacks, like an Officer Tatum, a Candace Owens. They're like, I'm a devout Christian. Okay, yes, that's your slave religion. You learned that from your enslavers. And Candace Owens is not even a foundational black American. She's a tether. But the fact of the matter is that you're practicing a foreign religion, a religion that is alien to you, a religion that you did not choose, a religion that was forced upon you with violence, great violence over the centuries. And what I'm pointing out to you is that these folks are casualties. You don't realize it. They're casualties. Yes? They're the walking dead. They're the victims. They're still living in captivity. It has been written that the best slave is the one that does not know they are a slave. Yes, and the reason that these persons, like this chick here, I don't know which way it is it because on my screen it shows up on this side. On your screen, I hear it shows up on that side. But wherever you see this black girl who's showing her body like a lowlife, these ones are the most dangerous ones because what the right, the conservative, uses them for is to say, oh, look, you know, there's a black person saying there's a problem with black people, so it must be true. But then look at, for example, the Jews. They stay on the same page. Even when there are problems, they deny it, they hide it, and they cover over the sins or they cover over the errors of their fellow people. Even the Muslims, it is recommended that you would cover over the faults or the flaws of others in the ummah. You do not engage in backbiting. But instead, you see the blacks so splintered that you allow these animals here to speak ill of their entire people, thereby degrading the self and the group. And that's why I say sass or nothing. It shall be a new reign, a new value set, a new ideology, and it's not based on race. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are. It's based on the good peoples of the earth. and the good peoples of the earth will bring a sword to those who are wicked. And there are many among us. I want to promise you, Shaitan, the devil, is not down below. He is walking among us. He's on television. He's in music. He's being streamed on YouTube, on Twitch. He's everywhere. You must separate and you must deal with these characters.
Not racist, and I know y'all.
Hey there. You're all finished. Okay. Do you need anything from me?
No.
Okay. If you just make sure that you pull the door closed, thank you very much. You did a great job. Okay. Okay. Let me put this away for a second. If you guys could also confirm that my audio is still good, has not been interrupted.
I've been told this is racist,
Shout out
but
to,
it's not. It's not racist to call Black
have
people
here
out
at the
for their
plantation
behavior
is
and what they're doing to
phenomenally hard
society at
workers.
this
And
moment.
to my
I'm
point
glad
about
people are noticing this
dealing with those
because it's
people
been
who are
so many
good people,
years and it's
I've
finally
really
catching
had
up to y'all.
to replace
I've been
so many
trying
of
to
the
tell
folks
y'all
that
that
work
white
on
people
staff
are
at the
tired of y'all.
plantation
I'm tired
because
of y'all
some
too,
of them
but
just didn't
everybody, the
appreciate the
world is getting
salaries,
sick
the
of y'all.
job, the
And
opportunity. And I think,
I'm
and
so
part of
glad
it, to
this
be
day
frank,
is
a
here.
lot of people talk
I've
about
been trying to
racism.
get out
I
there
think part
that
of it
you people need
is
help. It's
maybe
me, but me and other Black
classism and
conservatives.
with a
We've been
little bit
trying to
of
warn
racism mixed
society
in,
that
which is
this
to
is
say
what it's
some
going to come
people
to when y'all keep
don't want to work for
calling
a young
Black
Black
people.
man on essentially a plantation. They don't like that. It has a
All
bad
righty.
taste in
Are
their
her
mouth.
feelings valid?
So
Joining us to talk
they
about it,
want to
Dr.
take my
Angela
money and then
Jones,
do a
political
half
analyst,
ASS
Angela
job.
Voss,
Well, you're going to
activist
lose your
Eugene
job.
Howard,
And so we're replacing a
filmmaker
lot of
Sean
people. And I'll tell you
Welling,
why.
and
It's
conservative
because we want
M.
good
Williams.
people
We want to
around
thank
us.
you all for
Good people
joining
do
us
a
here on The
great
Facts.
job.
So
You don't have
first
to
of
double
all,
check
let's
their work.
define
Oh, the video is
what
playing.
Black fatigue is.
When did the video start playing? Did it just start playing? Thank you guys for that. My apologies. How long did it start playing? Yikes. Okay. That's a pity. How long did the video play? I'd be curious. I'm also curious as to why right after the maid. Okay, got you. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. And you'll have to forgive me if we have any audio issues. Just let me know if you're hearing an echo and then I'll put the headphones back in. Let's work.
Moment. I'm glad.
Hold on, let me play this out loud. And if we have an echo, just tell me immediately and then I will go ahead and put my AirPods back in.
Glad people are noticing
The claims of racism from sunup to sundown, loud talking, fighting, and the list goes on. Not my list now, keep that in mind. But some people are.
Let me rewind it. I really want to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, and I hope that you all are here and ready to engage with this knowledge because, you know, the hallmark of my word is to be surgical. So let's get after it.
Now to Black fatigue, it has recently been turned into a feeling that some white and Black people have who say they are damn tired of foolishness of some.
Let me be clear. Black fatigue is a strategy, right? This term empowers those who are legitimately racist to be able to express their disdain toward a specific group of people. You see, because in reality, if you have a problem with certain behaviors, being inconsiderate in public, theft, being unruly and riotous, abandoning your kids, which is really none of anyone's business, frankly. It's only your business if you have to pay taxes on it. So really, you don't have an issue with the Black people, you have an issue with the government because they're taking your taxes to allocate to the least productive elements. But the point is, these are the behaviors that are common to all of humankind. And the racists, the true racists, are utilizing the term Black fatigue as another synonym for N-word hard R. That's really what they're doing. Yes. And what I want you all to understand is that the bootlickers rarely realize how they're being used. I've even seen situations where you have people who are of color, if you will, and they try to cozy up or to impress the white supremacists, only to be rejected and embarrassed by the same white supremacists that they try to be buddy-buddy with. And that just shows how much they're motivated by self-hatred. And one thing I want you guys also to observe, and this is precisely why I made every effort to be a racist. I really tried it. And the reason I tried it very hard is because if you grow up as a Black person in the United States, especially if you're well read, and if you go to university, which is usually a hotbed of liberalism, you'll have every bit of evidence as to why you're in a racist society. So I tried to go along with it. And some of the stuff makes sense, and we can talk about what makes sense in terms of, racist ideas that I was able to hold on to longer than others. But what doesn't make sense, if you're honest, and I want you guys always to remember, most of your problems root from dishonesty, you being a liar, you lying to yourself and you lying to others. The best thing I can recommend for self-improvement is honesty. But anyways, if you go to Instagram comments, right, you'll see a lot of white supremacists if a Black person's doing anything, or even an Arab person or an Indian person, because the white supremacists pretty much are against everyone, right? That's not white and not Asian. They look at the Asians as kind of like their lap dogs, because a lot of the Asians really admire them and want to be them. And the Asians are pretty well behaved for the most part. Shout out to the Asians. So if you see an Indian doing something, you see an Arab doing something, you see a Black person doing something, the comments will be flooded with whites or wannabe whites, and not normal whites, racist whites. Let me remember, if I say whites, I'm talking about racist whites. If you hear me say white woman, I'm talking about liberal white women. So anyways, the comments will be flooded and they'll say things like, oh, usual suspects, which is often comical. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty funny. They'll say usual suspects. However, if you observe a white person doing the exact same behavior, you look in the comments, no one's saying usual suspects. Because if the white person does it, now it's just a human behavior. It's just human frailty. It's a mistake. There's understanding. There's acknowledgement of humanity. There's acknowledgement of the hierarchy of man, of like, oh, that's not all white people. That's just the lowest strata of white people. Those are hillbillies. Those are, rural whites. Those are poor whites. Like, then you can start being more granular in explaining away the behavior, as opposed to racializing it and suggesting that it comes from someone's DNA. And that's where you see the irrationality of the racism. You must be irrational to continue with your racism. And I know, because I tried, and the reason I couldn't be a racist is because I'm not a liar and I'm not irrational. Let's go ahead and get to this work. Let's get to this work.
Black people, the claims of racism from sunup to sundown, loud talking, fighting, and the list goes on. Not my list now, keep that in mind. But some people are tired of the complaints and don't give a damn. Here's what one TikTok user had to say about it.
It's not racist, and I know y'all been told this is racist.
And what I want you guys to really observe about people like her is these folks they're there just to collect a dollar. And there's nothing wrong with collecting a dollar, but the problem is that they're positioned as a giver of knowledge. They're engaging the public as a lecturer. And unfortunately, there is no litmus test to see if you're duly qualified. And as a result, we have individuals like this skanky little black bed wench. And she's like, oh, I'm tired of it. I was like, okay, love. Well, if you were a honest, noble man, instead of complaining, which is what women like to do, and it's what weak males like to do, and children as well, instead of complaining, you instead be saying, how can we deal with this? How can we address this? Like, for example, I despise single moms. I really do. Listen, I hate the guts of every single mother on earth who is not a widow. If you're a widow, that's one thing. Maybe your husband was martyred. Maybe your husband's in a prison in Gaza right now. Maybe your husband was victim of something. You're a widow. I respect that. But if you're not a widow and you're a single mother, I hate your guts, because you probably are a single mother because you're unruly and disobedient. I want to be clear. You're unruly and disobedient. You're probably a bad person. So instead of me constantly coming online and railing against single mothers, which would make me less happy, and it would, just be a negative state, and it wouldn't be very manly, because that's just complaint. That's emoting. That's emotion, negative emotion. I'm creating a training center that's going to do what? It's going to care for those children of the single mother. She can bring her kids, and I want her to stay, also get the education, because if she was fully gamed up, she wouldn't be a single mother. So we're going to educate. We're going to enculturate. We're going to lift up instead of punch down and disparage. This is what people do who are real patriarchs. And you look at the people, and no matter how downtrodden they be, you look at the people and you still realize at a level, You are my people. So I will take care of you, and I will give you an option to rise up as opposed to just kicking you while you're down. And that's what these kind of characters do. And what they are unaware of, they know not what they do, is they serve the purposes of the racists, because the racists, they want to dehumanize. They want to make a problem of your DNA and your genetics so that they can eventually kill you. Yes, genocide, things like this. And what I'm saying to you is the more that you can dehumanize a group, meaning rob them of all of the features that would cause others to identify with them. Once you fully otherized them, now you can pulverize them. You can starve them, you can annihilate them, and no one will say a word. Yes? That's what's been going on for a long time. And what this broad is doing is she's a part of that work. She's in fact doing the dirty work of the true racists. You know, the high-level racists, guys like Elon Musk. He's a dirty, filthy South African foreigner who needs to be sent out of the country. But we have to understand that there's so many devious plays going on. You got a guy like Donald Trump who's going back and forth with his butt buddy, Elon Musk. And now he just gave a huge contract to Elon Musk. I thought they were fighting. And you know what's going on? Donald Trump is a weakling. We know something's weird with him because he seems like he can't maintain stamina in fighting against Elon. He's folding and giving Elon all this money. And then he's also folding with Bibi Netanyahu. They have dirt on him. Something's wrong with Buddy. There's just no doubt about it. No doubt about it. May I acknowledge? Shout out to Jing C. And I also want to acknowledge Jing Z for sending the jerseys, created a pretty cool product, which I've actually been wearing. It is beautifully fitted. So I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank all of your sections, SAS in Miami or whomever was involved with that. I really do appreciate it. I think Josiah may have been involved with that as well. So thank all of you for that. And he comes right back. He writes, "Peace of the Saints. The term black fatigue is new to me. I'm looking forward to your teachings." Absolutely. You know, we find that today language is abused and manipulated. And discourse, which is to say language, discourse has two forms. It can be descriptive of reality, which is to say you can use words to describe things. You can say, Marquett, you are dressed in a very elegant manner. You're describing something. You can also use words to construct reality, unfortunately. And so if you acknowledge that human beings are social animals, if you had 30 people around me and you started describing this, like 30 people keep describing this blazer as orange, there are going to be people who are going to just accept it. Like, okay, well, everyone's saying it's orange. It must be orange. Maybe something wrong with my eyes. Got to go get my eyes checked. They won't believe their own eyes because there's too much reinforcement and there's a social contract where we presume that you're going to tell the truth. Even though we might say so-and-so lies, people lie, but mostly people are telling the truth, right? Mostly. And the reason politicians are so effective at tricking us is because we're accustomed to the truth. Most people are telling the truth most of the time. You don't expect people to look you in your eyes and tell you, we're going to release the Epstein files. And then they get elected and then they don't. You kind of assume they're going to tell the truth because mostly people are telling the truth. Politicians, on the other hand, they're a different kind of human. They're a kind of man, but I don't know that they've ever represented mankind. I encourage you all to know that those who seek power, those are the ones you should not give power. And in fact, if you look at, for example, Vladimir Ilyich Plekhanov-Lenin on his deathbed, and there was a curiosity as to who should rule next. And he made a note that Joseph Jukashvili Stalin, the Georgian, who used to be a bank robber until he rose up in the ranks, he said, do not allow him to rule. And curiously, Stalin described it as Asian ruthlessness. Now, of course, the Russians, they're kind of a mixed people, some more European, some a little bit more Asian. And strangely, he used this terminology. This was the translation. That he said he has an Asian ruthlessness. This is not my words. This is the words of Vladimir Ilyich Plekhanov-Lenin on his deathbed. And he was saying that he's too ruthless. He's going to take the movement in the wrong direction. He's not ideological enough. He's not Trotsky. He's operating based on his own power. He's power hungry. He's dangerous. And that goes directly in line with what I'm telling you. It's the ones who seek the power, the ones who want to run for office, the ones who want to be president. Those are the exact ones that should never be president. They're extraordinarily dangerous. And we've experienced that time and time again. Some of them come and they make an act of humility, but they are not humble. They're power seekers and they're dangerous. And we see Donald Trump right now. His dictatorial and authoritarian instincts are coming out left and right. But here's the kicker. I personally don't have a problem with authoritarianism or dictators if they are competent. People compare him to Adolf, and frankly, Trump is no Adolf. Adolf was actually pretty talented, whereas Trump is not very talented. Adolf had so much more background and structure. When you say background, what do you mean, Marquett? Well, he was a war hero, in as much as he was awarded the Purple Cross. Was it the Purple Cross? The Iron Heart? I forget. He was awarded something. Someone in the chat, I trust that you know. I'm a little off today. Forgive me. But I think it was the Iron Heart. And this is because he was a courier on the front lines passing messages. He was eventually gassed and he ended up being temporarily blind. And so he was at some level a decorated soldier who saw significant action. And it's quite fascinating when you look at the history of Adolf, because he was not a German, he was an Austrian, but he identified so strongly with the language and the concept of blood and the folk, which is to say the community, that he left his homeland, which was in fact Austria. He went into Germany and he volunteered for their army, and they let him in because, you know, human beings used to be more free. You go back in time, we were more free. Every year we become less free. And once he got out of the military, the Weimar Republic was controlling Germany after their defeat. And there was a lot of military men, they were called the Freikorps, and others, communists, who were trying to take over the government. So the then government, the Weimar Republic, which was a weak social democracy, they sent Adolf to infiltrate a party called the Nationalsozialistisches Deutsches Arbeiterspartei, which you know as the Nazis. So he went in actually as a government agent to infiltrate. And he started to realize, like, oh, actually, these guys kind of make sense. And they elevated him within the party, making him the leader because of his speaking talents. So the party went from a fairly marginal, small revolutionary group to a large, well-organized machine with the SS and the SA and the Hitlerjugend and the Bund Deutsche Mädel and all of these different elements to it. And of course, they had ideology, and a lot of what they had was borrowed from fascist Italy, Mussolini. And all of that ideology was created initially mostly by Giovanni Gentile, who is the philosopher of fascism, if you like. And so even if you look at the Roman salute, which you guys often call other things, it's actually a Roman salute. It was taken from the fascists. It's not even something from Germany. And, you know, it's actually quite funny because when you listen to the racism of the Germans, which was extraordinary, or I should say the racism of the Nazis, and theoretically, according to their Nordic ideal, according to their Aryan Superman, as you go farther south, these are supposed to be inferior peoples. You go farther east toward Russia, these are Slavs, they're inferior. You go farther south, these are the Southern Europeans, the dark-haired ones, the ones that begin to become more brown, in part because of them being conquered by various empires of color. And regardless, they borrowed a lot from the Italians. In fact, when Adolf was on his come up, he was an admirer of Mussolini, and the roles reversed quite starkly in that eventually Mussolini had to go to Adolf for protection. And the protection didn't serve too long because Mussolini was deposed and eventually drugged through the streets like a common criminal. Anyways, let's get back after it.
But it's not racist to call Black people out for their behavior and what they're doing to.
Now look at this imbecile who's wearing everything fake eyebrows, fake lip color, fake makeup, fake eyelashes, fake hair, and has her bosom out and is sitting in some small little bedroom that's undoubtedly an apartment in a major city that she can barely afford to keep while she tries to deliver on her dream of being an influencer. What an ambition. And here she is giving advice and then having her image projected to the multitude by idiotic people in media who are basically going to push out whatever is hot, extraordinary. And she says, it's not racist to call out. You're correct. It's not racist to call out, but is it productive? Is it useful to call out? What about to build? Now, acknowledge Caleb. He writes, tuition. Where can I locate the audiobook of the Black Box? The audiobook of the Black Box you can locate at thesassin.com. That's THESASN.com. You must merely hit the products button and scroll down. If someone would be kind enough, one of my moderators, to provide her the link. May I acknowledge Rienzi supporting the work, comes in via Venmo. Appreciate you. Shout out to Jonathan. He writes, peace of the saints, tuition. Shout out to my young boy out there doing big things. Charlie writes, tuition. Now also acknowledge via PayPal. Frank writes, great topic, boss. Let's work. Sir, yes, sir. Ray writes, tuition. And not only are you shadow banned, big homie, but they've also had an influx of Zionist apologetic ads on your channel whenever I watch. Whew. Shocker, huh? Juan writes, I'm done watching from the sidelines. I want to show the greatest part of who I am, tuition, peace to the saints. Indeed, peace to the saints. I also acknowledge Dwayne. He writes, I was significantly moved by your discussion of the current events impacting Palestine. This has prompted me to contribute financially, and I plan to donate a portion of my weekly income. Do you have any recommendations for reputable organizations that are providing support in this critical time? None that I can say publicly. I value your guidance in this matter. Yes, none that I can say publicly, because if we're being honest here, and I shouldn't say we, if I'm being honest here, what Palestine needs is not food aid. What they need is an end to the violence that is being inflicted upon them. Because if you fill their bellies, but someone else fills their head with a shotgun round or a sniper bullet, then it matters not that you filled their stomachs. So what they actually need is a different kind of support. Most of the organizations that you can access from here will not be of significant benefit. So that is all I will say publicly. May I acknowledge Mohammed writes, peace of the saints. I'm a few minutes behind, but I want to send and support before this live ends. Thank you for your time and teachings. Learn the hard way on why you say be good to good people. Off topic, would you recommend to have your ladies be friends or just associates? Know of each other. You know, the very best thing is if they're actually friends. And at the Big Game Conference, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different topics. This will be included in that. But in short, yes, it would be best if they're friends. Steve comes in supporting the work via PayPal. Appreciate you. And shout out to all those folks who do support. You are certainly appreciated. And for those of you who believe that you do not have a single dollar, I understand that mentality. You can hit the like button because it'll cost you nothing at all. You get to do that completely free of cost, and it is a way to support the stream. May I acknowledge? Shout out to the Lady Saints. Miss Quick comes in supporting. She's very consistent. Shout out to Felix supporting as well. May I acknowledge today's religious talk, been very consistent. He writes, I've been diagnosed with black fatigue, been suffering from it for 42 years, all the day-to-day microaggressions. May I acknowledge Thomas? He writes, may I advise you to go full screen during the monologues? Fair enough. Thank you very much. During the monologues, so the screen share is not covering you. Will be easier for your video editor later. Peace of saints. I appreciate that, and I trust that he appreciates that too. So thank you very much. Shout out to Major Minded Soul. He writes, the office setup is clean, Mr. Burton. Peace of the saints. I appreciate you. Thank you. I actually went ahead and ordered my degrees from my universities because it just feels like this office needs that kind of thing in it. Today's religious talk comes back. He writes, these people don't have the decency to come up with their own term to describe their disdain for black people. They stole it from Mary Frances Winters. Well, I tell you what, it's actually more clever to hijack the term. So when you hijack the term, it's like the Master Sun Tzu states, one peck of enemy provisions is worth 10 carried from home. I repeat, one peck, one nibble from the food of your enemy is worth 10 carried from home. So to steal the term And to make an instrument and a weapon of it, oh, that is beautiful. They're doing very well with that. Shout out to Charlie. He writes, can you explain why some black women are so upset at black men that date white women, but they are happy to accept black men that date other males? Because they're sick. They're sick. It's very simple. They're sick. They're truly sick. I want to say it one more time because I feel it that strongly. Yes, animals. And that's what happens when you have a female without any male guidance and influence. They become very sick. May I acknowledge? Glopez writes, peace of the saints, paying what I owe. Shout out to the real men who stand up, make their name known. I acknowledge Chima. Shout out to Brian. He writes, thank you for providing such thought-provoking analysis. It helps me reflect on parts of myself as a man that need constant evaluation. Sometimes that could be as simple as being honest in all areas. Peace of the saints. Yes, indeed. And it's not that simple. What I'm telling you is a shortcut, but some things require elaboration. There's something called the pyramids of truth. In Boston University, I talk about the pyramids of truth. You're probably going to want to understand that a little bit better, but in short, if we can all be more honest, things will be better for us, generally speaking. But if you want to get to the top, there is some complexity and nuance that you might want to understand. If you have Boston University, go to that lesson where I go through the pyramids of truth. I'm also going to rehash that at the Big Game Conference, which is this weekend. We have literally 2 tickets left, and then it's all over, folks. If you all would give me an update on the audio. Audio's off, no sound. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So if you all would be kind enough, let me see here. All right. Would you be kind enough? Okay, the audio's good now. My apologies. I don't know what's causing that, but we'll get the kinks ironed out in due time. I acknowledge Dominic. He writes, tuition, I've been working with St. Josh on the land he talked to you about as a videographer, editor. Thank you for creating a sanctuary for the good to connect and build. Peace to the saints, sass or nothing. And shout out to Dominic, very hardworking, straightforward young man. And Josh, you're very wise to connect with him. You're going to get great value out of him. So happy to see that. And that's one of the most powerful things is I always say wealth through unity. And it's in us sticking together and supporting one another that we all rise up. And you see that everything I've ever talked to you all about, you've seen all of it happen. Not one thing have you seen not come to fruition. Carrying on. Here we go.
Society at this moment. I'm glad people are noticing this because it's been so many years and it's finally catching up to y'all. I've been trying to tell y'all that white people are tired of y'all. I'm tired of y'all too, but everybody.
Okay, see, now that's interesting. So this reaffirms my point earlier is that she's just a lapdog. She's a bootlicker of the white majority because she feels so inferior. She has to impress them like they're somebody. And what is really sad is she says, I've been telling y'all the white people are tired of y'all. I was like, first off, sis, you're not white. We don't need you to translate whites to us. If we're curious as to what the whites are thinking or feeling about us, which we're not, we could just ask them, right? They can speak for themselves. So why do you feel like it's your special calling to interpret the feelings of the white masses? This is the kind of stupidity that we're dealing with. And frankly, low IQ, it cannot be healed. Those who are broken, psychologically traumatized, they cannot be untraumatized. I would even go so far as to say, and increasingly so, the field of psychology is a farce. No one is being healed. You have people who have been seeing therapists for 10 years, no solutions. They just prescribe you psychotropic drugs. Medicine in the West is increasingly in disrepair. I kid you not. I had some little bumps on my forehead, and I went to a dermatologist, in fact, a Black dermatologist. I've never been to a dermatologist in my entire life. I've had the good fortune that I've never had skin breakouts or skin issues, acne, my entire life. So I went in because I had to go up to Atlanta to take my Maybach in because my footrest wouldn't recline fully. It was still like, fully laid out like a lazy boy. So I wanted to figure out what was up with that. And I was like, oh, I got to drive 3 hours up to Atlanta. I feel like I got to do something else while I'm there. So I made up something, went to the dermatologist. And one, I was quite disappointed in their service, frankly. They just reached out to my folks and asked, like, oh, hey, they took like a I forget what it's called. Is it called somebody knows, help me out. They took a piece of flesh, if you will, to study it, a biopsy, I think it's called, because I asked them to, and it was an extra service. But understand this, they basically said, oh, hey, we're going to write you a prescription, get this and get this. So one's a cream and one's a pill. And so take the pill and the cream and it should go away. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, but what's causing it? If it goes away, I still won't know what's causing it. Maybe it'll be caused again. So then you just you have a customer for your pharmaceuticals endlessly. Fascinating. Then he turns around and he says, well, what do you do for a living? I said, oh, I do this and that. He says, oh, okay, well, all right. So it sounds like you do really well for yourself. I was like, yeah, for sure. And he says, well, what we could do, you don't have to do this, is, we could take a biopsy and figure out like, what's going on. And we could also like see if you're allergic to anything. So you take like a couple of your hairs and, do a food allergy test. Maybe it's something in your diet. Maybe it's this or that. And we can check on it. I was like, yeah, do that. Now, mind you, this cost $1,000. Literally, I kid you not. They took like 4 or 5 hairs from my beard. They took a biopsy and those 2 things to check if I have allergies and et cetera. That cost $1,000. If I couldn't afford that, then they were just going to give me a cream and some pills and say, hey, go take this. It should go away. That's the state of your medicine. You can't tell me what caused it. You have no clue. You can't tell me thereby how to prevent it. You just want to sell me some cream and pills. Now, did I take the pills and cream? Of course not. This is nonsense. Why would I ever do that? It's not even necessary. Frankly, no one would even notice the bumps except I noticed them because I've never had bumps on my face my entire life. So I say that to say, medicine is in disrepair. Our society is in disrepair. And the sickness in our society is expressed in the lack of integrity in all of our institutions, in our hospitals, with our doctors, with our political class, in our educational system, at the DMV. It is all in decay. So we do need, before it's too late, a new culture to rise up, for this one has fallen badly, and it's currently falling quickly. May I acknowledge? Ernest writes, would you take the Lewinsky? Sir, that's not even a question. We already know what it is. Shout out to Mr. Golston writes, consistent streams, consistent tuition. Peace to saints. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. 924 comes in with a double baller alert. Shout out to the ballers. First baller showing up today, is it? He writes, I remember I accidentally sat in a psychology class, long story. I sat in a couple of them when I wasn't even taking the class. It has hella girls in there. He writes, and a lot of students were applying their anecdotal experiences, yes, it's women, right, to substantiate the concepts. They also didn't acknowledge the topic that talked about the self. They are just there to discover emotion. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. It's mostly a bunch of messed up people who can't keep themselves from bouncing off of the walls. And they're trying to figure out, in essence, what's wrong with me. I should have went back to the single screen as was recommended. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with me. That's essentially what's going on. Daz the King writes, peace of saints, being a 23-year-old man without a clear gift, but that might be to your favor. But aspirations to become wealthy, very good. Are you serious though? What do you advise I do to become an entrepreneur? You get a product and sell it. That's what I advise you to do. He writes, currently working a 9 to 5. My side hustle is loaning my money to people. Well, I hope it's not that simple. I hope that you're finding qualified persons to loan to that have a easy to verify way to repay. But that sounds good. Money lending has been the great work of the Zionists and the Jews for some time, and it's put them on top. Money lending is a great way to profit. So wishing you much success with that. And there's levels to it, of course, right?
World is getting sick of y'all and y'all's. I'm so glad this day is here. I've been trying to get out there that you people need help. It's me, but me and other Black conservatives. We've been trying to.
Now, this is comedy when they call themselves Black conservatives. You know, there was a time that folks would call me a conservative and I wouldn't complain about it. In fact, I remember the first time I went to office hours for Dr. A. James Greger, and he said, you know what, you're unique. You're a Black conservative. And at the time I was a young person. I didn't have much sophistication, because conservatism itself in America, I mean, what does it really mean? You had Milo Yiannopoulos, which is a white foreigner who's a homosexual who was a speaker of conservatism. What? That doesn't make any sense. Isn't conservatism about the nuclear family? How can you have a nuclear family with a homosexual? Strange. Conservatism, root word, conserve. No way the audio went out. Hello. Can folks confirm if audio is good? Audio is good. Okay, fantastic. So why did the guy say the audio went out? Anyways, conservatism, root word conserve. Let's look up that word conserve real quick. Conserve. 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 Protect. Especially something culturally important from harm or destruction. Yes? So when we're talking about conserve, my guess is that you're trying to protect American culture or norms which were pre-existing, right? So I find it curious that a Black person would be a conservative to conserve what was. Well, in many cases, what was disadvantageous for you. Now, do I recommend Blacks be liberals? Absolutely not. The liberals are disgusting pig animals, filthy, overweight, deranged, clearly deranged. That's why I just share this ism. Marquettism is for the kids. Marquettism saves lives, because the conservatives are lost and dishonest. The liberals are completely mentally ill. And you have this broad who's not very sophisticated. She's a bedwench and she's claiming to be a Black conservative. Why? Because it's profitable. They can use you. A white conservative, not very useful and impressive, but a Black conservative, it's more rare. We can use you as a puppet to speak against your people. And you can even make some money in the process. We'll drop you a couple coins. So this is what they do. Yes, indeed. And shout out to my lady saints. Yes, do hit the like button. We do have good information for you.
Our society, that this is what it's going to come to when y'all keep coddling Black people.
What?
All righty. Are her feelings valid? Joining us to talk about it, Dr. Angela Jones, political analyst.
Okay, so again, we see the matriarchy at work. So we have a panel that is majority female. So already one must be suspicious. And yes, that's right. That Black chick was playing the Candace Owens playbook, Candace Owens 101, get money 101 at all expense, expense to your integrity. So we have a white woman who has small hips and massive shoulders. It looks like she should be playing wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. We have a woman on the far right who is a type of Black person. We have a Black female on the far left whose shoulders are also strangely very big and looks like she has massive trap muscles. She got some of that Serena Williams slave DNA. And then she's also wearing boots that looks like she should be pounding the pavement on Sunset Boulevard, trying to get a P paid. Extraordinary. We have a random effeminate white guy on the far left wearing a baseball cap as though he's out in a set of bleachers. That's strange. Very good. This is a nice little motley crew of weirdos. Let's hear what these imbeciles have to say.
Angela Box, activist Eugene Howard, filmmaker Sean Welling, and conservative M. Williams. We want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor. First of all, let's define what Black fatigue is supposed to be, Dr. Jones.
Black fatigue is supposed.
So now we have a female PhD, which a female PhD, this basically means that you're single and you're going to die alone. That's what it means. So let's hear what Dr. Jones has to say. Doctor.
Supposed to be just and I'm trying to make it as short as possible.
Please
Basically,
do, love.
society is saying that they're tired of how Black people are blaming things that have happened to us historically in the past on what's happening today. And they are also now adding different things.
Now look at this. I think this is very fascinating. We're talking about race politics, right? Now, work with me here. We're talking about race politics. Why is it while we discuss race politics, you're looking at someone who is a SEX therapist? Look at that. Yes, you see it at the bottom. She's a certified SEX therapist. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is probably not related to her expertise. So why is she even there? That's number one. Then number two, if you're an SEX therapist, I can assure you all that these people are perverts. There is no normal, mentally healthy person who wants to study the private intercourse of other people unless they are a sexual deviant. Intercourse is not that fascinating. It's actually quite straightforward, you know. Kiss, kiss, rub this. Okay, our parts are ready to go. Let's bring the parts together. If we're not using contraceptives, someone's going to get pregnant, then we carry on. It's very straightforward. But it's the perversion of the modern era where you have therapists. You don't need a sex therapist. So sick and sad. But the thing is, females left to their own devices, extraordinary perverts, extraordinary. Some of you guys are perverts. I just want to take out any moment I can to share a little bit of ism with you. For the ladies watching, I want you all to know that if your man needs lingerie or he needs you to do all this weird stuff, he's probably half gay. He's not entirely heterosexual. Me personally, I don't need lingerie. You don't need to put on special underwear. You don't need to wear like all this extra crap because it's getting taken off anyway. It's like, why are you trying to create more barriers and booby traps? Like, no, I don't need all that. You hear me? You're about to get this candy muscle regardless. You can wear what you want to wear, but I'm trying to save you some money. And then, gentlemen, if a chick shows up and she has that Jezebel spirit and has all this lingerie, she bought that for her last guy. She didn't buy that for you, little buddy. She recycling thongs out here. It's disgusting. Really, it is. Carrying on.
That they have seen in society to that behavior as well. As she said, like loud mouthing or maybe, you know, using certain words or certain behaviors in public. So that's basically the definition in a short sense.
Do we get anywhere with that, with this conversation?
No, this absolutely.
Okay, good night, folks.
I mean, the thing is, it's an absolutely pointless conversation. It's like, okay, so now what? Thank you for letting us know that there's a.
You know what? Her PhD might have actually helped her. Psych! PhDs never help women. But the fact of the matter is that that was correct. Now what? Now what? Now what? So we've created a new term to disparage the Black masses. Now what? Now nothing. It just creates one of the prerequisites for eventually doing harm to a people, which is first you degrade them, then you dehumanize them, and then you take greater action.
Fancy word of you saying that you're tired of Black people, and you put it on the internet, and now people are co-signing on it, you know, including with the way the environment is already. But it's okay. You put a nice new name to it, and now you feel like it's okay to say. And it's not going to do anything for anybody to now pander this term around, to pass it on in the internet and put it in people's mouth and make people feel encouraged to say, I have Black fatigue. But when we're all tired, when I'm saying, oh, we're all tired of something and somewhere, there's always something. So this is not.
Okay, so she's verbose, which most women are. And, you know, she's not dumb, but she is a pervert, right? So I don't really give too much credence to what she's saying because she's a pervert, and I don't listen to perverts. I don't listen to sexual deviants. I don't take them seriously because they're mentally ill. But she did make a good point, which is, you know, now what? May I acknowledge Azar writes, paying tribute to the King of Kings, peace of the saints. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Now, so acknowledge Daz, the king writes, thank you for the advice. Hope to meet you soon. Recently came across your page. So just trying to become more familiar before I join the Assassin. Finding my own direction to success is my challenge. Well, I tell you what, if you have something that's already working, double down. So often we are easily distracted. And in fact, I would even challenge that it is in our distraction that we express a lack of self-love, because if we find something that's working and we fail to double down, then it's showing that we really don't want to win. We really don't love ourselves. When we love ourselves truly, not in a narcissistic way, but in a healthy way, you really appreciate yourself and you want the best for yourself. Then you find something is working for you, you're going to double down, you're going to work harder, you're going to make the phone calls, you're going to make the sales calls, you're going to send the emails, you're going to be responsive, you're going to treat your clients well. So double down on the things that are working for you.
Actually going to help anyone psychologically, mentally, emotionally. It's only going to create more divisiveness, more anger, and more hate in society.
And when we see a lot of people, especially Black people, joining that chorus, saying that I'm tired of Black people too, what will that do?
It's not going to do anything, because here's the thing, that Black person or the Black people that are on the internet saying that can go somewhere and they're going to be already stereotyped into the group that they're trying to separate themselves from.
It's a bit painful to listen to this woman because despite being an academic, she is imprecise with her language, which is not a result of her education, but rather her lack of IQ. And unfortunately, intelligence cannot be taught. You can learn information, you can learn strategies, you can learn frameworks, but your intelligence is fairly fixed, and hers is fixed at a low level. And so she's answering his questions in ways that are not very helpful. So I'm going to fast forward past her part because there's very little of merit. And I want to encourage you all to observe this. I'm fast forwarding part past the useless part. So many of you guys don't value your time. I tell you what, if I start a movie and the first 10 minutes suck, I'm not about to wait and see if it gets better. I'm outro. Time is extraordinarily valuable. None of you are immortal. Value your time, because when you value your time, you value your life, and you ensure that your tomorrows are better for it. I acknowledge Bomb. He writes, the suit game is tremendo, Saints. Showing love, peace, and Saints. Oh, you guys already know it's custom head to toe. You dig? Watch, custom. Shirt, custom. Blazer, custom. Pants, custom. Already. And shout out to those who were on the drip trip, those who are coming on the drip trip 2026. You better get your tickets because it always sells out, and that's where we create all the custom drip. That's why it's called the drip trip. May I acknowledge Mr. Goldstein writes, your channel changed my view on interracial dating. Just took down a Colombian who doesn't even speak English. Hope Trump doesn't deport her. Peace is in. Hey, there may come a time where you want Trump to deport her. Give it some time. Colombianas, their values are not the best. So at some point you may want her deported. It get like that. But the big game conference, we're going to talk about all things women and family related. And at the very least, I can challenge all of you to be goal focused in whatever you're doing. I acknowledge Mr. Malave supporting the work via PayPal. Shout out to the ballers. Aubrey writes, just paying what I owe. Been busy at work, so I haven't been able to support. Peace of the Saints. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Shout out to those men who pay what they owe, those who make their name known. Dwayne came in. He writes, I get the hidden message, Saint. How can I find info to help them privately? I couldn't tell you. I don't know you well enough to tell you. But I would say at the very least, support those who support that. You understand what I'm saying? Not the ones who are just talkers about it, but the ones who are serious about it. Support those who support that. I acknowledge Dwayne. He writes, oh, I'm sorry, I just acknowledged Dwayne. Dominic writes, I must come back and say, what the F is black fatigue? It really seems like a dumb internet thing. Join theassassin.com, come outside, enjoy life. Oh, absolutely. And that's the key is, people who are complaining about racism, whether they're black, white, Jewish, what have you, Asian, Arab, whatever. If you find that consistently you're complaining about racism, whether it's racism you're being impacted by, or you're saying things that are racist toward others, you're just not a happy person. It's simple. You're not a happy person. You don't have enough meaningful things and relationships in your life. That's all there is. May I acknowledge Joshua writes, new setup is on point. I appreciate that. And I think it'll look even better over time. This is actually just my office. And, as you all saw, my maid just finished up her work. And I think she did a great job, better than the last woman. May I acknowledge Drip Lord, he writes, I had to send it in again. YouTube then changed your boy's name. Anyway, Saint, like I said, the suit game is immaculate. I appreciate you. And, honestly, they're going to have to hang these up in a museum when I'm done. You dig? In a real way, man. I haven't seen anybody this fresh since De Niro in the movie Casino. You dig? Carrying on.
From just because they're Black. You actually have to be around people to see their behavior. You have to witness their behavior to actually understand who they are. But she could sit there and be in a crowd of a room of Black people, and guess who she's going to be included in that group as well. She's not doing anything that is going to help her or her race at this time.
Well, you're wrong. She is doing something that's going to help her, just like Candace Owens. She's engaging in an internet grift. So she's making money on ad revenue. She's becoming more famous. And eventually, if she keeps saying things like this, they're going to mainstream her because she's young. She looks like someone whose guts most guys wouldn't mind poking. And so they're going to mainstream her, and she's going to make more money. And then eventually she'll marry a white guy and then further disparage Black people and her own DNA in the process. So what I'm saying is that's a lie. It's not that there's no benefit. Very rarely do you see people doing anything for no benefit. There's often a benefit. The only question is, can you assess what it is? And that's, again, a reminder that this woman's intellect is insufficient because she's not able to analyze and understand. You see, there are many who look, but they don't see. She's one of them. Respectfully. Respectfully. Just respectfully speaking, the physics.
All right, Angela, let's hear from you. Your thoughts about this
Angela.
Black fatigue.
Well, with all due respect to Angela, number one, I really disagree with this. It is a completely behavior-based issue. And when white people, Black people, Hispanic people are saying we have Black fatigue because of the behavior of some.
So right here, you have a white woman who is for sure a racist, which is fine. I don't think anyone needs to stop being racist, but she's basically trying to cover over and cloak her true racism. Because at the end of the day, if you had a problem with the behaviors of some Black people, if it's some Black people, then the behavior is not genetic, it's not linked to being Black, then you'd have a problem with the behavior and you'd organize against the behavior. For example, there's an organization called MADD, M-A-D-D, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So they're organizing against the bad behavior, drunk driving. They didn't say mothers against Latinos. They didn't say mothers against, like fill in the blank with a group, the Irish. People say the Irish drink a lot of alcohol. So what she's doing is she's lying. And the term Black fatigue is not called Black fatigue of some Black people. It's called Black fatigue. And so in having this language, it may describe some realities, but undoubtedly it is constructive of reality. And so you have this bleach blonde, old white broad lying. Let's hear some more lies. But first, give me a second. I just got to confirm something. Hey, they've been on a live session, so I'll get back with you shortly. I just want to confirm, what was the cost of this particular maid service? I think that they had billed a little bit more than that, but I just want to be sure. If you wouldn't mind sending what you were told the cost is. Carrying on. Let's work.
Black people, we've all seen it. We all know what it is. It's everywhere. And, the issue is way more insidious than people.
First off, I want to know, who is this old ragged white woman? Somebody has to tell me, who is she and why she get to talk? I need to know. And she says, we see it everywhere. Do you really? And I'm going to tell you why I know that's not true, because Black people are about 12% of the population. People often say 13, it's 12% or lower for sure. But in addition to that, when you say you see it everywhere, this is a lie. Black people are too much a minority for you to see it everywhere. That's number one. Number two, Black people are generally an urban poor population. So if you're not urban poor, and presumably she isn't, she doesn't see it everywhere. You might see it online. You might see it being pushed out through the algorithm, but this is not a representation of reality. This is a representation of the extremes of reality. And this is really important for you all to comprehend that algorithms, social media pushes out content that's salacious, content that is going to have virality. So it has to be something that's very unusual or noteworthy. They're not going to push out people doing good deeds. I'll give you an example. I put out, my team is pushing out reels and content about the training center that I'm making. It's called a training and event center. Who is it training? It's training single moms to actually be able to raise their boys well with support from the community. It's helping raise up females who have morality and decency. It's like a finishing school, and it's an event center. If you ever wanted to make a rally in support of Gaza or against the Zionist regime, or a pro-America only rally, we can host it here. We have plenty of land. We're going to build a big building so that we can host that. But that kind of content, that doesn't go viral at all. People don't reshare that. Hell, people scarcely even support it. And that's because, good things doesn't play very well in the media. Honesty doesn't play very well. Doing the right thing doesn't play very well. So what I want you to understand is that in the news business, they say, if it bleeds, it leads, which is say gore, violence, sexuality. These are the things that petty human beings are focused on, especially if you grow up in a culture that is as lost as this one. Come on now. Let's talk about it. Exactly, right? He says they've been 13% since the 80s, right? Like with all these millions upon millions of immigrants, you think blacks are 13%, knock it off. Furthermore, the black female has the highest rate of abortion because she's mentally sick, but also they don't even abort the right babies. You see, they don't abort the baby of the man who tells them to. They don't abort the baby of the man who is a drug dealer, drug fiend, or a gangster or incarcerated. They're not obedient. It is in their disobedience that they end up as single mothers. You see, they abort so many babies and still become single mothers. They're not aborting the right babies. They're not sleeping and procreating with the right men. They're not obedient. Many of them are demons, straight up. Many of them are demons. We need really Ike Turner to come back through. We need Vladimir Slavovich to come from Russia and get them straightened out. You did. But anyways, yeah, that's total nonsense. There's definitely black people are not 13% at all. May I acknowledge? Bro's name is Black Fatigue. He writes, I understand Black Fatigue all too well. Shout out to the quadruple baller alert. The ballers then showed up. Respect, ball. He writes, peace of the saints. Please receive this tuition with my gratitude, reverence, respect. The more that I get to know about the movement, the more I appreciate the profundity of you and what you are bringing forth in real time. Thank you for being. Sincerely, Ezraya Derek Albert. I appreciate that. That really means a lot because of the thoughtfulness of the message, the sincerity, and because you could have just wrote it. You sent a quadruple baller alert. It lets me know you're serious. You mean it. You put your money where your mouth is, and also it's well written. So I really appreciate that. That means a lot, and it's my honor to do this with you, to do this with all of you. There's nothing more powerful and bonding than to put your hands into the soil with other men and good women. So we're building together, and I thank you. Shout out to Beast. He writes, peace of the saints. Hope all is well. Quet, could you do a reaction to the Netanyahu interview with Nelk? Possibly. Let's see. I heard Netanyahu was laid low from food poisoning, supposedly. You really can't trust what comes out in the news now, can you? Let's see. Netanyahu. Let's see. It's extraordinary how powerful podcasters have become. So yeah, I got this one queued up. I think we might be able to do some cooking. Anyways, and thank you for letting me know. So I got that there. And also for those of you who have supported the training center, I thank you all. A lot of you guys have supported at a high level. We've had people come in at 10,000. We have several people come in at 500. We have people coming at $150. I appreciate you. It all has meaning, and you all will all be thanked. And also for those of you who haven't supported, if you send in $10 and literally everyone sent in $10, we'd be done already. And I do want to move forward faster, if you don't mind. So do support the training center. Every dollar you put in does not go to me. It goes to the actual building, to creating the building itself. I've myself put in $500,000 of land to build it. All of the work that the team is doing, and shout out to the ladies. One particular lady is doing a phenomenal job taking lead on this project. We've already put in tens of thousands of dollars in time just getting the project together, the architects, and going through all of this back and forth in email, researching construction and dealing with permitting. And all of that is essentially paid for by me personally. So I say that to say we're doing something sincere out of goodness, and it will be done, and it will be done by my will and by your will. So we must do it together. And I thank those of you who are with me on that, not those who say, oh, this is a great idea. Now, mind you, I saw on the Instagram thread, you had some people were saying, it was mostly guys, black guys. And this is one of the reasons I'm creating the training and event center. I need to train. There's certain mentalities in black males that are fundamentally weak and effeminate. They're not manly. They don't want to build, many of them. They're not builders. They want to add on. They don't want to be there to build. They want to like do what the woman does, which is show up at the finish line. So you got guys in the live, the chat thread, black guys saying, oh, this is a great idea. Like, I'd love to volunteer. I don't need volunteers. We need money. We need cold hard cash, straight up. And I have no shame about saying we need cold hard cash, because I'm not saying for me. I'm saying for this building. Cold hard cash. We don't need volunteers. Why don't we need volunteers? I run the SASN. The SASN is a group of noble men and women. They're already vetted. I know these people. In fact, I got an event that's Saturday and Sunday. We got some saints coming in Friday that are staying at my personal home. Why? I know them well. I respect them. They're honorable men. I wouldn't put strangers around people's children. You better believe that. So this volunteer stuff, become a saint. Let us get to know you, and then we might consider it. We're not going to put strangers around other people's kids. Are you mad? You got to be nuts. But this is the effeminate, foolish thinking. We don't need volunteers. I have thousands of saints that we know well that are vetted and have been in this thing of ours for years on end. We have thousands of honorable men and women. We don't need bodies. We don't need your time. We need your money for the center. And I tell you what, with me, every week you're going to get a report out. And we're going to talk through what's the progress, what are the challenges, where are we at with it. Simple. But be manly, though. Like, don't say goofy things like that. Be a listener, be a hearer. The video didn't say, hey, we need volunteers. We don't. This is not Dr. Umar. I don't need volunteers. I don't need you to come paint the building. We're going to hire professionals to paint the building so that the paint looks good. And we're not going to paint the building until the other things that are greater priority are already done. Why? Because I'm a businessman, a real man. I know how to prioritize. Carrying on. Back to this crazy white lady.
Realize. And I talk about how a lot of these things come back to what the Democrat Party has done to the Black community. Purposeful.
So this is when I know that you're not a genuine person. The moment you start talking about Democrat, Republican, I know that you don't care about anyone. You don't care about whites. You don't care about blacks. You are invested in this sick swamp-like system, a political jungle wherein you're jockeying for power, influence, and money. You're not concerned about the advancement of black people. You're not even concerned about the advancement of white people, because I can assure you, arguments between left and right and the American political left and right is like right next to each other. Those arguments are not going to heal anything in American society. So the moment you start talking about that, I know you're unimaginative. You're simple-minded, you're bought into the system, and you're fundamentally dangerous. You're not offering anything new. I mean, this is just as much a farce as when Donald Trump said that he's draining the swamp, and people believed it like that. I knew that was a scam, because I was like, bro is a part of the swamp. He's been in bed with these politicians for decades. Now, I voted for him on a cultural basis. I thought he'd be good for pushing back this sexually deviant culture, number one. And number two, I thought he'd be good for, there's one other thing, it's the sexual deviant. Oh, the economy, because I'm a businessman. So I have import-export businesses. I thought he'd be good for my businesses, all of them really, because when he came in the first time, the economy was flush with cash. A lot of consumers had money to spend. And as a business person, I can tell when the economy is jumping and moving on all cylinders because people are buying product. Product is shipping fast. So he did well at that time. At this time, he's doing terribly, and he's only enriching the ultra rich. He's not enriching the rich. He's enriching the ultra rich. You know, Charles Schwab, Nancy Pelosi, the ultra rich. Huh? Yes, indeed. May I acknowledge? Shout out to Stop Playing Trade. Shout out to Stop Playing Trade. He's doing really well. I'm proud of this young man. He writes, the people who don't join Patreon are doing themselves a disservice. I watched some player stories and tried things with women I wouldn't even have known were possible. Peace to the saints. Yes, indeed. And I encourage you. The beautiful thing is when you join any of the member sites, they all have the same content. You can scroll back to the archives, years of the game, phenomenal pieces of game you won't find anywhere else. And it's all real. That's the difference. It's all real out here. Shout out to Caleb. He writes, is the Assassin website currently down or is it just my device? Let me take a look. So I just typed in assassin.com and yes, we have suffered a cyber attack. Okay. So I'm going to make a note to get that back up. Give us 24 hours to get that back online. And some of you may have always wondered, well, why does Marquett have so many different places that his content is stored? He has thesassin.com, he has patreon.com, he has marquettism.com, and he has one other one, which he's not even announced. Well, why is that? It's because we get a lot of cyber attacks. And it's not by accident. It's very targeted stuff. So I'll get that back up, and I appreciate you letting me know. Much appreciated. And this is the nature of life. There's a young lady who's a liar. She tried to weasel her way into my life. She's not an honest person. And I'd asked her to do something that is difficult. It's emotionally difficult as well. And she told me, I can't do that. I said, well, why did you ever come to me? You're not an obedient woman. I've always been very clear that I only deal with women who are obedient. And your good fortune is if you deal with a man like me, you're dealing with a great leader. I make good decisions, so it's easy to follow me because things are going to work out. So if you're not obedient, like, go away. And she says, well, you asked me to do fill in the blank. That's very difficult. I said, yes, it is difficult. And it's important that you be able to do it because I assure you, my life is not going to be an easy life. Since I was a child, I always knew what was ahead of me. You may look and see expensive cars, nice homes, world travel, but my life is not about that. It never has been. Those are the fruits of intelligence well applied. But for my ideas and for my efforts to make things right in the world, I will be persecuted. That is how the world has always worked. Find a truth speaker, Copernicus, he will be persecuted. Find someone trying to stop the wicked from doing what they're doing, you will be persecuted. So if you can't do this simple thing, it's not simple, actually, it wasn't simple. Let me not mischaracterize it. If you can't do this difficult thing that I'm telling you to do, I'm not asking, I'm telling you, then I know that you are not strong enough to be with me. You have come to me because you like the big house and the expensive cars and the reputation and the world travel. You've come for those things, and I promise you that I have some other things for you. Challenge, struggle, ridicule, being ostracized, being persecuted, all of those things will come. I promise you. And I've already experienced them. I just don't talk about them because that's not where my mindset is. Yeah, I've had so many bank accounts shut down. No explanation. You guys know my CashApp was shut down. No explanation. I've been blocked from going into certain countries. I've been denied visas. No explanation. Every time I come back to the United States, oh, excuse me, we need to enhance interrogation tactics. I always have to have a conversation with Homeland Security. Yes, you fool. This life that I'm living is based on my values and my morals. That's been my driving force the whole way through. You goofy broad, you got distracted by the Maybach and the Rolls Royce and the i8. I should say Rolls Royces. You got distracted by that. You thought that's who I am. You look at the finery and the clothes. You thought that's the core of who I am. No, you're a fool. To be honest with you, I would wear the robes of a holy man every single day if that would get me better mileage. But it turns out that people prefer me to be in this velvet. You dig? They prefer me with a custom watch. They prefer the velvet pimping. Yeah, I need the big house and the nice cars for people to listen to me. It's kind of like a college degree, right? It gives you authority and credence. They rather listen to a rich black man than a wise black man. You fool. See, you think that a pimp would wear something flashy because that's what he likes. No, stupid. That's what the girls he needs to mesmerize likes. It's for the audience. You haven't realized how sharp I really am, you dumb dingbat broad. So I had to send her away. Because she is not going to be able to endure the challenges that will come in my life. And if you're a woman with a man, you're signing up for everything that will be involved in his life. And let me assure you guys, you do not want to fall down broad who will abandon you when you need her most. That's when they jump ship. They jump ship when you need them the most. Yes? They jump ship when you're in jail, when you're in prison, when you're fighting a case and they don't know how much time you're going to get. So they want to jump ship before you get sentenced to 20 years. They jump ship when you lose your job. They jump ship when the government starts attacking you and they don't think you can win. They jump ship when the chips are down. They jump ship when your back's against the wall. They jump ship when the enemy seems too numerous and too strong. They jump ship at the very moment you need them to hold you down. So what do? I bring forward, I simulate the challenge, and I see how they behave. And then if they don't show obedience and loyalty, then I discard them forever. Come on now. I know a ship jumper when I see a ship jumper. A lot of chicks want to ride because they think it's a yacht. You hear me? They think it's a yacht, so they want to ride. But yeah, I see you're a ship jumper. You're out of here. You're dirt to me. So I say that to say, we will all experience challenge at different levels. And if you have a woman who cannot experience challenge with you without leaving, get rid of her. Some of you who maybe have a background similar to mine, you're financially successful, you're not a revolutionary, you're not into politics, you will never know the true measure of your woman. You'll never know how loyal she is or isn't. You'll never know how much she would sacrifice for you. You'll never know if she'll endure with you because you're a responsible, consistent man and you're going to make, say, $1 million now and you're going to have your salary bump up every year and things will be fine. But if ever you had a challenge of bumping your road, as soon as that car hits that bump, she's going to pop right out of that car. Yes. You got to test things. Obedience is number one, ladies and saints. They say they are obedient, but they're not. There's just a couple of them that really are. So let me warn you all, there's a lot of ship jumpers and they're not only women, they're also guys. I always ask myself, if the feds raided this place right now and the feds took me to their prison cell and I needed to make a phone call, who would I call? Would they answer? And would they empty out their bank account to get me to safety? Whatever that may mean. Who would I call? Would they answer? And would they empty out their bank account to get me to safety? Whatever that may mean. Kareem states, women hate the word obedience. No, those are not women. Those are not women that hate the word obedience. Those are bed wenches. Those are bed wenches that hate the word obedience. It's not the word, it's the reality. They don't hate the word, they hate the reality of what you're speaking of. So yes, make sure that you got, the big game conference is going to be epic. It's going to be epic. He says, how do you test a person properly? We're going to be talking about that at the big game conference this weekend. 2 tickets left. Once those tickets are done, it's done. I already put in the final order for catering. It's done once those tickets are sold. Anyways, may I acknowledge Mr. Ferreira writes, peace of saints, I want to thank you for your words last stream. Absolutely. And I thank you for your consistent support. And shout out to Caleb for letting me know that we are experiencing a cyber attack. I also acknowledge Carter, writes, peace of the saints. Shout out to Mr. Chambliss, writes, you cannot romance me. This is rich man. You cannot romance me. This is rich man. This is not for free. So much jealousy. When I see beauty, I look at me. Listen, bars. Some of y'all don't even know nothing about that. Shout out to Reginald, supporting the work, came in by Venmo. I also acknowledge came in by PayPal. He writes, dead internet here. Hope all is well, Mr. Burton. Just sending some funds for the project you and your organization are working on. Can't wait to see the end product. I can't either, honestly. And it's one of the times where I use that kind of language and I mean it. But I do want to remind everyone for the purpose of transparency and honesty and integrity, and I've already said this before, I'll say it again, and I know that I'll continue having to say it, that if you sending your money via super chat, number one, Google takes 30% and then the government takes 20%. So if you send in 10 bucks, $5 will drop to me. This information below is better to use. And if you use that information to send in any money, then that goes to me, Marquett Devon Burton. It does not go to the training center. The training center is funded by the GoFundMe link. One of my moderators with the wrench next to their name, they can drop the link in the chat. If you click that link and donate there, your money goes to the training center. What I do not want is for people to send money to me thinking it's going to the training center. So in full transparency, integrity is the most important thing. Do know where your money is going so that it goes to the right place that you intended. Thank you. May I acknowledge Ricardo writes, support the work. Oh, absolutely. Yes. And if for some reason you don't feel like you have $1, whomever you may be, hit the like button. Bro said, my ex-girl, ancient history. I'm in Greece looking at ancient history. Yes, indeed. Shout out to the folks who check out the bars. Everywhere you stream music, the Saint in the Center, we got bars for you. You dig? Carrying on. Here we go.
Starting with the Great Society of Lyndon B. Johnson, who he famously said, I'm going to have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. When Democrats said you don't need fathers in the home, you can be on welfare and have as many babies as you want. And oh, by the way, we're going to destroy public schools and we're going to make sure that behavior.
This woman is so brainless, yet she thinks she's very clever. She's giving speaking points that the right, the American right, the Republican side, has given so many times. And in fact, if you really pay attention, some of these speaking points end up being contradictory. You heard her mention, oh, you can be on welfare and have as many kids as you want. So it's suggesting that there's an explosive population among the blacks. However, if you look at the abortion rate of black females, it is the highest by far. So there's not an explosive birth rate. And the welfare system has not caused bigger families. In fact, we've seen families decline in size. That's not only among blacks, that's among the whites as well. And in fact, that's in the Western world. And largely this is due to feminism, but this is not what she's talking about. Instead, she's talking about party politics. So she's just like an imbecile, in short. I think that's a technical term for her. And here is the link if you would like to support the Training and Event Center. I encourage you to do so. And if you can't, support it in a significant way. The beautiful thing about money is that it's infinite. You can get more. But, something like the training center, it will stick around. Your dollars that you spend, they'll go up in value, they'll go down in value. The training center will be an institution. It will stick around. So it is well worth it. And I just want to get started building. I want bricks in the ground. You dig? Magnage Sebastian writes, peace of the saints, Marquette. What historical figures would you say inspire you to become the man you are today and influence your personal mission? Love from Houston, Texas. I can't say that any historical figure has inspired me to become the man that I am, but I've certainly been inspired by many historical figures. In fact, probably too many to name, but I will share a few. In terms of speech and rhythm, to their oratory, Winston Churchill, Barbara Jordan, Malcolm X, which Malcolm X, we should say, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is his spiritual teacher. And of course, I was inspired by Adolf Hitler in as much as I always struggle with the idea of how can someone organize the masses to do evil? How can you organize so many people for wickedness? And I made it my goal when I was 16 years old. I said, well, what if you could organize that high number of people with the efficiency of modern technology and human willpower to do good? And so I've always basically been driving myself, like, how do you create an army of good? Because I find it to be fairly despicable that the mass mobilization of man with strong intention is always for warfare. It's for murder, death, and destruction. So those are some of the folks who have been influential. I've also admired Karl Marx and his works like Das Kapital, not because it's correct, but because it's very sophisticated and it shows what intellect can do, particularly in terms of influencing the masses as a philosopher, if you will, because I don't agree with communism at all. It has some meaningful points, but he was an influential thinker, and so he's someone to learn from. And also, when you look at the dichotomy between Ernesto Che Guevara de la Serna and Fidel Castro, you learn a lot about the paths that a revolutionary could go down and also the pitfalls of endless revolution. So there have been too many persons to name, like even Robert Mugabe, for example, who shows you the true value of land as a cause. Really, land is the only value that exists on the planet Earth. Everything that is valuable, diamonds, gold, coltan, cobalt, it all comes out of the land. So those are just a selection. And even Muammar Gaddafi was quite impressive as well, except that he went soft in his old age. And it reminds you that, and these are things I talk about in the Book of Dark Truths, that once an enemy, always an enemy. In my book, The Black Box, I actually talk about this at length. And when you read books like The Black Box, and you can get on Amazon Prime if you like, when you read books like The Black Box, it draws out the lessons long enough, and it has characters that puts these things in bright colors that the lessons will stick a little better than if someone just tells you, hey, do this. And it's important to soak in the lessons so that you learn faster and you apply the lessons so you can get ahead in life. Nothing worse than moving slowly. Gentleman writes, have I ever thought about multi-streaming on Kick? I have not. I've never created a Kick account. If folks in the chat think I should get on Kick, I don't even know what it's about. I'm assuming video games. Feel free to make a note in the chat if you think I'll do well on Kick, because we do, of course, want to innovate and do new smart things. So I'll let the chat decide, for I trust the wisdom of the crowd sometimes. Thank you for that recommendation. And in fact, much of what I've been able to develop has come from listening, not always from knowing, but from listening. May I acknowledge, Dwayne writes, my apologies for not considering that I'm a stranger. If I understand correctly, my contribution to you won't be in vain. Oh, absolutely not. In fact, if you make a study of what I've been doing, not what I'm saying, but what I do, you'll see that so much of what I have, I'm making available to everyone. That's why I say wealth through unity. I'm always opening up my homes to you, the viewer, the consumer, the saint, the member, whomever, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of people in the chat right now. In fact, I just see the name Eric Garcia. So there's a lot of these folks who have been to my house. I don't think that you can find any other YouTuber where like a significant portion of his audience has been to his house, or where he'll invite people over to work out, just to exercise. There's no cost. There's no meet and greet. There's no BS. Let's get in a good run. Let's shadow box. Let's do some jump rope. Let's just have a good, wholesome, honest time. I just don't think that really happens in this space. So yes, it will be a good cause. And I do invest back into you all. And that's documented.
Standards are seen as racist. So the out of control behavior that we've seen in the classrooms, in society, all over, is part and parcel of what the Democrat Party has done to the Black people.
All right, Eugene, let's hear from you before we have to take a break.
That's really a really curious story. In fact, this would have been a good story to interrupt. She stated that the current backwardness of the Black masses is a direct result of Democrat policy. And in part, there's just no doubt about that. However, transatlantic enslavement, Jim Crow laws, de facto segregation, redlining, like none of that was a factor. Like, come on, shorty, knock it off. And the reason she doesn't want to bring up those horrors is because you can't assign it to the Democrat Party. You see what I'm saying? And this is how they're playing games. And that's why mostly you're a fool if you play the party politics, because you're just being used as a tool.
Man, why are we all? What does the Democrat Party have to do with black?
You, my
Everything.
boy.
Hold on.
Shout out to bro. Bald head people are geniuses. That's what you guys don't realize. Do your research. Anybody bald head genius, Professor X status. You dig? He checked her ASAP. Like, what does this have to do with the Democrat Party, goofball? For sure.
So I think he asked Eugene. So last time I checked, I'm Eugene on stage. So the Democratic Party has nothing to do with black fatigue. What the original term from the actual black community of black fatigue was after every other community decided to vote, since you want to talk politics, Donald Trump, then black folks said, we're going to sit this one out. We're going to let this thing burn down and we're going to go have a good time because we're tired. We have been struggling. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-great-great-great-grandparents have been fighting this same fight. So if you guys want to turn around, and he said the N-word, why don't you guys feel so comfortable? Just say it. Just go ahead and say the N-word. We're if it's so okay, if you're so fatigued, if you don't want to recognize the civil rights plight, go ahead and say the N-word. No one's.
So I think he went a little bit off the rails, and this is political strategy. You often see the left and the right playing these games like, oh, are you going to apologize? Apologize. Look in the camera right now and apologize. Or, oh, you want to say the N-word? Say the N-word right now. They're basically trying to get someone to look wrong or to say something that will be detrimental. And I just really despise these kind of games because it doesn't have any respect for people. It doesn't have respect for humankind. There are people struggling and suffering, and instead we want to play games about Democrat, Republican. Like, I don't care, Democrat, Republican. We need to stop sending our money to the Zionists in Israel. We need to stop financing war, not only in Israel, but in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen, in Syria, and the list goes on indefinitely. We need to stop trying to overthrow governments. These are the big issues. We need to improve infrastructure in the United States, improve education. We need to repeal certain things like alimony, child support. I promise you the birth rate goes up significantly. We need to fix the family courts. When we can do some of those things, then we will see a flowering and a blossoming of society. If we cannot do those things and we keep on going back and forth in stalemate, then we'll see the countries that are largely homogenous and autocratic, they will speed past us. They'll continue to speed past us. But until you deal with these small minds, and the unfortunate thing is that to clean these folks out of the government, you must actually overthrow the government, fire a lot of them, save some of the bureaucrats just to keep the government functional, and then replace these folks with people who are sincere, intelligent, and have accomplished something so that they don't pull a Nancy Pelosi and try to become 100 millionaire off the backs of the American taxpayer. Like, these people have to earn their money. So you need to have money before you come into government, right? Not inherited money, earned money. You see, when you earn money, you're one of those people who understand, you understand markets. And markets are people. It's large groups of people. Look at this person. It's a low-income person. He writes, why don't you have blinds or curtains in Word? I think I'm experiencing black fatigue. Is this what they're talking about? Black fatigue? Very good. LL Unk, would you like to come on and have a quick discussion about curtains and blinds? Because I actually find curtains and blinds to be very fascinating. And I'd be really interested to engage you on this topic. Would you consider coming on? Right. Yeah, I hear you, buddy. Will you come on? Do you mind? I'd like to have a discussion with you. So just say yes or no. If you're willing, all I need you to do is turn on your camera. And also I need you to not curse. That's my only requirement. So would you be willing to come on? I'll drop the link. You can click the link and then you can ask your questions and I'll answer your questions. I'm just going to give him a little bit of time. He says, why insult a person for no reason? Because he's evil. He's evil. Like, there are demons among us. And that's what I often keep reiterating. There are saints, the good peoples of the earth. They may be a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, even an atheist. The good peoples, they're oriented on goodness. Then there's the devils, the demons. They sow confusion. Says he's scared he won't come. Yeah, all of a sudden he's missing. Yes, their goal is to distract. That's what they do. But I wanted to experience a teachable moment. Yes, indeed. That's all I got for you. You can only give that what you are. So, yep, he disappeared. Shocker. Okay. So since he's scared and he's disappeared, we'll go ahead and block him such that we don't have to deal with that kind of nonsense anymore. But to answer your question, little buddy, why don't I have blinds or curtains, which is it's a reasonable question. It's inappropriate in this context at this time, but it's a reasonable question. So blinds and curtains are used to cover or to shade or to hide. Now, I have a very gorgeous view here, and I don't have my assistant around to show you, but I got a window there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 windows facing this way, and then I have another window there. And I also have a sink and some other stuff in my office. Now, this is an office. I don't sleep here, so I don't need to keep out sunlight. And also, I'm on 62 acres on an estate, but I prefer the term plantation. And my property is surrounded by very beautiful, tall trees, which is to say, no one can see in at all. And even if someone was like on the other side of the trees, like looking, I'm still too far away. So there's no one to hide from. There's no one to conceal. Like, I could walk outside and walk around my property with my meat out, and there'd be no woman around to appreciate such a thing, because I'm a landowner, you see. And as I said earlier, land is the only true value. That's why I bought a lot of land. So my little apartment dwelling, filthy dirtball black rascal, the reason that you ask this is because your reality is so far from mine, because you live in a box. Literally, you live in a box apartment, and figuratively, your mind is in a box. It is trapped. And because of that, you cannot comprehend a reality outside of yours, and in my case, superior to yours. And so you reveal your stupidity and your inexperience by asking such silly questions. Why don't I have blinds? Well, because I like sunlight. And I also, during the day, I like to look out of my windows and see the gorgeous trees and see the birds flying by, maybe see some deer, running through my tall grass, maybe see a rabbit, hopping by. Like, I like to see those things. And so there's no need. But like, for example, my owner's suite is right through these doors. And in my owner's suite, it has blinds on it. And in fact, they're mechanical and electrical. So I can, cut them on and off from my bed. And the reason I have blinds in there is so that sometimes when I'm working very late at night due to different time zones, I'm not awakened by the sun. So I have blinds there. But mostly I don't have blinds, and I don't want them. And I also don't want curtains. So that is why. But these are the kind of silly conversations that devils engage in to distract. And, frankly, you cannot improve IQ. You cannot heal broken people. We really just need to just take out that 10% of the population, and then we can move on from there. We can move on from there. And thank you to all of those who had patience for that devil, because you must suffer fools gladly. May I acknowledge via PayPal? Shout out to Cole. He writes, can I pull up for the football game, or is it only for the people that paid for the conference? Shout out to Cole. Well, I'll tell you this, Cole. If you are Cole who was on the drip trip, 2025 drip trip, then we may be able to make an accommodation for you. If you're not Cole who was on the drip and I don't know you, of course not. Like, please don't pull up, please. But if you are Cole from the drip trip, we may be able to make an accommodation. But I would also like to encourage everyone to not try to join into things that you didn't pay for, because it kind of disrespects the people who did pay, right? Like we do have 2 tickets left. If you want one, you can get one. And I don't want to disrespect the purchase of the other people who spent real money on it, and because they care. So I try to be accommodating and understanding, especially of people who really rock with the ism. That's why I say, if you're cool that I met, you were on the drip trip, we can make an accommodation. If that's not you, we cannot make an accommodation. There's no need for us to slap the people who paid their ticket in the face, because that's a part of the enjoyment, right? That's why you want to come. So we wouldn't do that. And thank you for supporting. And if you are that cold, we show love to those who show love to us. But if you're not that cold, like, you got to be more thoughtful. Mr. Gardner writes, peace of the saints, tuition, that suit is clean, saint playerism. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. And, I'm really innovating out here. The club collar, if you ever see anybody with a suit with a club collar, they stole that off the big homie. You dig? Call it a Marquett suit, because that's what it is. You've never seen this in your life. Anyways, may I acknowledge, Juan comes in by Venmo, writes, peace of the saints, tuition. I've enjoyed watching your content evolve over the past year. The black box too, years 25 to 50, whenever you get there. Well, I'm pretty far off from that. But you know what? Books are a bit too slow, is what I've discovered. And books are not the medium of the future. So I do have one book that's kind of already written that I need to finish up in due time. So there's that. And then I do have some notes for a black box too. So I may or may not ever put that out. He says, I saw a hummingbird this morning. Yeah, it's beautiful. One of the things I really like is, you see a lot of butterflies here. In fact, like farther toward the front gate of the property, there's a large, what looks like a web, but there's a term for this. And there's a lot of little caterpillars inside of cocoons. And so these will all become butterflies, and just really extraordinary to be deep enough in nature that you can see that. The last time I saw that was in a classroom as an elementary school teacher, as an elementary school student. So a long time ago. Yes, indeed. Shout out to Legion of Saints. Yes, indeed. Near future. That's the one that I got basically finished. I do need to finish it up. Carrying on.
Stopping you. It's a free country,
I don't
right?
show you, Gene.
I mean, I'm just
about
saying.
To lose me my show.
but that's my point. It's a lot of things that they want to use code words, whether it's DEI, whether it's black fatigue. They just want to be able to say the N word without being able to say the N word.
So do you not find certain behaviors objectionable? Or you think it's cool?
Listen, I live in a real community. I see a whole bunch of unruly white folks, Hispanic folks. So it's not just the black community, but we always want to emphasize on black when it's negative.
All right, we'll take a break there. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue our discussion after the break. Welcome back to The Factor on Sense.
So the white woman is one of these devils, right? This is a racist. This is not a normal white person. This is a racist. And because she's so psychotically racist, racism is it's a psychosis. And she's saying, well, do you not see behaviors that you find objectionable? It's like, yeah, you fool. We all do. Well, of course we see behaviors that are objectionable, but we don't lie and suggest that those behaviors are exclusive to a particular race, even though sometimes those behaviors might have a preponderance in a certain race, and that's worth acknowledging. But your goal is to deride, essentially for the purpose of eventually eliminating. You're not trying to help, because if you were helping, you wouldn't be concerned about what to call the behavior. You'd be concerned with how to treat the symptom, how to treat the causes. And you have no sympathy for that. In fact, I doubt you even have understanding and care. And it's so sad to see racism in the female, because the female is supposed to be the one that is so caring and loving. And we see that women today, so many of them are quite the opposite, unfortunately.
Continue our discussion on Becomes By that are your thoughts about black fatigue.
Well,
Now you got this heifer right here that got a goddamn what's my boy? Look at this bra right here in them hookah boots. She got that Jesse Jackson perm. She got the goddamn trap muscles of Serena Williams. She looks like she's about to play linebacker for the Bengals. I don't know who her fashion designer is that told her, like, yeah, put on them boots. Yeah, the knee-high ones that look like you dance on a pole for a living. Like, and then she calls herself conservative. And this is why conservatism is completely fraudulent. You do not wear the same boots that a woman of the night would wear and then call yourself conservative. You do not live as a woman in her 30s with no man and no kids and call yourself conservative. That's not traditionalism. Yes? The lies. It's the lies that are causing us to suffer.
Whether you like Black fatigue as a name or not, it's the truth. Like, we're tired of the victimhood mentality, the trauma identification, the need for external, agreement. That's ridiculous. That's terrible for the Black community right now. That's terrible.
I hope that the gentleman takes a pause and says, hey, I've heard you. May I ask you, you've told me all the things that are terrible for the Black community. Would you be kind enough to tell me what is good for the Black community? Since you know, tell me what is good for the Black community. And then you're going to see that they may be at a loss of words.
For the children growing up, I mean, there's so many broken homes, and I think that's the core foundation. Number one, I believe the core foundation is that the parents failed to not only unify the home, but also failed to put true identity in God in the children. So if you don't have identity in God, you don't have identity at all. That's number one.
So this is a person of modest intelligence. We've seen so many of them. The world is increasingly filled with them. And in fact, real IQ is declining. And this kind of gives credence to the eugenicists. It's like, maybe you guys were right. But she goes immediately to the common trope of the Black bootlicker. And had you guys not noticed that all these Candace Owens, Officer Tatums, they're all white Christians, essentially? Yes, they're a Black person, but they're white Christians. Christianity is essentially a white supremacist tool. And there's no disrespect to the whites. I would create a religion. I'd make the God look like me, make Jesus look like me, and tell everyone that I'm the superior people and make them basically worship me without being overtly conscious of it. Like, that's really brilliant, to be honest with you. Whereas the Muslims, for example, they may say, yes, Muhammad was an Arab who spoke Arabic, and you must learn Arabic to, access, the closest reading of the Quran. But we're not going to show you pictures of Muhammad, even though we more likely know what he looked like versus Jesus, because he came closer to recent history. They still don't show the image, and thereby they don't cause a human to be worshipped, nor do they cause other humans who might look like Muhammad to be worshipped. It seems a little more reasonable. But hey, pick what you want to colonize you. But I just want to point out to you guys that it's the Black ones who are devout Christians who are also the bootlickers. Yes, notice that. And where did they get the Christianity? They got it from their enslaver. And that Christianity is still embedded in their psyche, and it's wreaking havoc. Like, it is very problematic to their thinking and to their sense of self. And that's why you always see that the people who have negative things to say about Black people are barely Black. Now, Marquett, do you have critical things to say about Blacks? Absolutely. Don't get me started, right? I could talk about them from around the world. You heard me? I could start in America, shoot over to Nigeria, shoot down to South Africa, and spin the block on them. But you'll also find that pretty much in most of those places where I have something critical to say is because I care so much. And I want better for people. It's not hatred. It's not self-hatred. It's because I hate to see people suffering so. I talk about the South Africans because I hate to see them suffering in the way that they're suffering. Shanty towns in the country of your forefathers. You live in shanty towns. With a South African woman, masterpiece. Dark skin, even just the waist this big, the hips come out slim thick with the yayas, pretty little thing, fresh water. And we were walking down a street in Cape Town, and it was late at night. I wanted to have a bite to eat, and I started walking into a restaurant/bar, and she just grabs me. She's like, "You gonna go in there?" I was like, "Yeah, it's the only place open. Where else would I go?" And she's like, No. Don't you see it's all whites? And I was like, for sure I can see that. Like, how am I not seeing that it's all whites? I was like, yeah, we're in Africa. That's crazy. Should we go tell them that this is Africa? They need some Blacks in there. I'm just hungry. I don't want to go mix in. I just want to eat. What do you think? Are they going to poison the food? She was like, we don't really go in places like that. I was like, are you not allowed to? She was like, they'll let you in there, but they don't really want you in there. Now, at that point, I don't want to go eat in there. I'm like, you hear me? If they don't want me in there, I don't want to eat in there because I just don't know what they're going to do to my food. But there was also a level of feeling inferior that she had that I don't have, being a Black American and also being a successful man. And just to see them still suffering so badly this many years after on their homeland, it hurts me. And the reason it hurts me is because the South Africans should be able to exist with a greater pride even than the Black Americans, because we will always be minoritized in this land. We're 12% of the population. Whereas the Blacks in South Africa are the overwhelming majority. They're 90%, and you still have a boot on your neck. So it saddens me to see you be dominated at such a level. It hurts me. And so sometimes out of pain, I speak out against them because they're in such a level of suffering, mostly of their own making. So you'll find that any place that you hear me speak critically of, even if you would consider Nigeria, you can check back my background. I've written lots of papers on Nigeria, particularly about how their economy was overly petrol reliant. And as a result, they suffered with the boom and bust cycles, namely in the 1980s. And also they were food self-sufficient before they got involved with international bodies such as the World Bank, the IMF, and all these international bodies that caused them to restructure their economy for their competitive advantage, which basically caused Nigeria to not do very well. And they failed to become a service-based economy and to skill up their population. They have an explosive, large population. People were pretty industrious and hardworking, also a lot of scammers mixed in. And Nigeria should be a global power right now. A lot of countries that are near Nigeria, some of which are English speaking, that Nigeria probably should just absorb, but they can't move on to that because they don't even have the people within their territory fully bought in. You have religious zealots kidnapping girls. You still have some of the remnants of the Biafran War. And it's just sad to see so much potential squandered with poor leadership, religious warring, and tribalism. And that is why I speak critically of these places, because I'm looking at a group of people who are so great, but they don't even know it and they won't live up to it. And it bothers me so much. But do know that in every single situation, I have invested in those economies and those people, and I've tried to push forward improvement. I've had significant numbers of employees and business interests in South Africa. I've had investment interests in Nigeria. I've not spent much time on the ground, but there was a new university that was going up. I had a contact that was higher up, and I supported that effort. So I'm not a talker, and there are many causes that I can't speak of that I have supported as well. And upon my death, you all will get to hear of what I've really done. And undoubtedly, there is a level of respect that I am owed, and that's why I carry myself like I deserve respect, because I do. I've done a lot of the things that people in my position would not do. You're well off. You come from utter poverty, and then you become well off, and then you still try to help other people at your own peril. That's not what people do. Anyways, shout out to Malcolm with a bowler alert. He writes, have you read any R.A. Schwaller? And do you find him credible? No, I haven't. Same with Friedrich Nietzsche. I do find him credible, and I have read. I've referenced a number of his works, like I won't get into it. But shout out to my young boy Austin, had reference Beyond Good and Evil and the Inversion of Moral. Shout out to my young boy Austin. He'd be paying attention for a long time. He writes, would appreciate your thoughts on them, if any. I also agree with you, streaming on Kick, it's not just for games. Oh, okay, very good. Yeah, I might have to consider it then. But yeah, Nietzsche is well respected and well known. Thank you for that support, and shout out to the ballers. You did. Shout out to those men who are successful. Carrying on.
Do you at all see the Black community as a lost cause, or just some individuals? What?
I don't believe the Black community is a lost cause at all. I just believe that we need to stop as a whole with all of this complaining. We need to move past the past. And
notice no actions. She's not saying, hey, I have this organization. She's not saying these are the things we need to do. She's not saying everyone needs to read this book and take these actions. Babble.
Become better. As
Become better.
an American, my parents were actually Nigerian. They came here in the 80s.
There we go. There we go. Now, this is a woman who needs to shut up. I wish I was on there. I would have obliterated her. I said, hey, if you are so focused on improvement, why did your parents have to leave Nigeria? Why didn't they stay there and tell everyone to do better, do better? Stay in Nigeria, tell everyone, do better. Stop complaining. Stop being held back from the past. Do better. Apparently that doesn't help people. So your parents moved out of the bad situation because I guess it's hard to improve certain things. This is what we call a tether. She's there masquerading as a Black American, speaking on our history, not even her history. She should be slapped in the face. And I'll tell you why. It is no more her history than it is the history of a white person, because the Black American and her being Nigerian, those are two different ethnic groups, just as a white Italian European and a white German European are two different ethnic groups, and they don't identify with one another. And we don't identify with her. She's speaking up on things that have nothing to do with her. Yes, indeed. She needs to be slapped in her face, and she got them big trap muscles. I should have known.
They grew up here. They had me and my brothers, and we're all successful and not one complaint through our entire childhood. They said work.
She got a big face. She kind of looked like a light-skinned Kodak Black. Somebody tell me I'm wrong.
For what you need, work for what you're gonna get, and you will get it.
Well, if that's the case, why don't you go back to Nigeria and do all that? Why'd you have to come here? If it's just a matter of work, go back to Nigeria and do all that. One thing that you often hear immigrants leave out, and it's unfortunate, and shout out to my Africans, just in general, shout out to my Africans, but you hear the immigrants leave out all of the benefits that they get when they come here. That's number one. And then number two, the immigrants, especially from Africa, who come to the United States, that's the cream of the crop in Africa. They have to be able to afford transit across the Atlantic Ocean. So not only is it the cream of crop financially, it's also the cream of crop intellectually. It causes brain drain, in fact. So you're comparing the high-performing Nigerian, the high-class Nigerian, to the black mass, which is to say the upper crust of Nigeria to all of the crust in America, as far as the blacks go. So this is silliness, and she's a dimwit. I could have destroyed her with like a matter of 4 sentences. She'd have been completely bodied. Really unfortunate to have that kind of stupidity aired in the public. Shout out to Miss Quick. She comes back. And gentlemen, don't let the ladies beat you at anything. You hear me? You guys, you need to step it up, you rascals. You're appreciated, Mr. Burton. You've always criticized Black people with love, unlike many Black conservatives, which is why I followed you for years now. I appreciate that. And I mean it too. And also I want it to be known that I've served Black people as well. I've served Latinos as well. Hell, I've served Koreans, I've served Indians, I've served a lot of people. But as far as Black Americans go, you know, I can say that there's at least 300 Black children and families that I served directly. The mom knows my name, the grandma knows my name, the kids know my name, and I spent 2 years with them. That's service. So what I say, always line that up with my actions, put them next to each other and take those in concert. This broad is just a big mouth tether who needs to go back to Nigeria.
There's talent in all of us, Black, white, whatever you may, call yourself, but God placed, all of these great things within us. Why should I now say, oh, well, a white person thinks this of me, or there's racism here and there? I don't think about that. I don't wake up every morning and have race.
This is a bit of a nonsensical conversation. I'm going to forward to the next person because she's not very interesting. Let's see what the tacky white fella has to say.
Is Black, what was it again? It's
fatigue.
Okay. So on Black fatigue, and come from somebody, and I think I agree with her tremendously, having a school for 3 decades, it was the first hip-hop dance school in the country. It's a cancer to tell a young kid that they're oppressed, that they're less than, and the world's against them.
Okay, so am I the only person wondering why he's even on the panel? Am I the only one like, why is this guy on the panel? He was like, it's called Black what? Oh, Black fatigue. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, you can't tell a Black kid's like, bro, first off, you didn't even have to know about Black fatigue. You were sitting on the panel talking about Black fatigue. You could just listen to the other people. How did you even get on the panel? You didn't even know what the topic is. What is going on? What is going on? Utterly bizarre. Shout out to Mr. Chambliss, right? Something interesting. I haven't heard of any ethnicity of women going after oppressed men, except for white women or those who are mixed but are often perceived as white. Why aren't there rallies versus women like that? That last sentence, you may have a typo there. So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking or stating. He comes back, he writes, Asians worked with white supremacists to remove affirmative action from universities. Oh, absolutely. They needed it removed. He writes, the Asians' aggregate acceptance rate went down while the whites went up. Some folks don't learn. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Affirmative action was a great benefit to the liberal white woman. Yes, indeed. Ricardo comes in by PayPal, just supporting the work. Appreciate you. Writes tuition. May I also acknowledge Cole? He writes, yes, sir. I was definitely on the drip trip. I only asked because I think you mentioned telling your neighbors about the football game. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we can make that happen. You are the Cole that I do know. And I always tell you all, health, wealth, relationships. Relationships are very important, and we honor loyalty within this thing of ours. You know, we honor those who really are a part of this thing. So yes, you are welcome. Tap in for the details. The football game will be at 6 o'clock on Sunday. It'll be 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. So you can arrive at about 6, and God willing, someone will be paying attention to open the gate for you. But reconfirm that with me, Cole, just so that we can make sure that we get everything properly scheduled. Ladies and saints, I'll give you a little bit of time to send in your comments, questions as we wind down. Bro said Nigerians always got something to say. Oh, that's wild. Shout out to my Nigerians, because Nigerians crack me up. You guys may remember there's that one Nigerian fella who came on. Actually, he didn't come on the stream. He DM'd me, but he sent a voice memo, and he was spitting mad. And he was so funny the way he was cursing. Africans, West Africans, let's say, West Africans, they're very emotive. Even the guys, when they're angry, and it's quite funny. It's quite funny. Shout out to my Africans. Shout out to my Africans. Ladies and saints, it has been a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you all. Let us end this with our tradition, the Creed of the Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you, the Creed of the Assassin. I'm going to be who I truly am, because I am remarkable. And I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.